Why can you visualize your success so clearly at 2 a.m. but you physically can't get off the couch at 2 p.m.? You have the vision. You have the talent. You even have the time. But instead of building your empire, you are building a fortress of excuses. You scroll, you clean, you panic, you do everything except the work. You feel like a failure. But I am here to tell you that you are not lazy. In fact, your paralysis is actually a symptom of having too much ambition. You are caught in a neurological state called the ambition trap. Today, we are going to break down the neuroscience of why smart, capable people get stuck in the freeze response and how to bridge the agonizing gap between your potential and your reality. To understand why you freeze, we first have to look at your relationship with dopamine. This is the mechanism of the premature reward. When you lie in bed imagining your success, the book deal, the applause, the fit body, your brain releases a massive hit of dopamine. Why? Because the brain struggles to distinguish between a vivid visualization and reality. You get the high before you do the work. You feel the pride of being a winner without lifting a finger. But the next morning, when you sit down to actually write or work out, the dopamine is gone. The reality of the work is boring. It is hard. It is quiet. Your brain compares the massive high of the fantasy with the low of the effort, and it protests. It says, "This isn't fun. This feels like a downgrade. Let's go back to dreaming." You are essentially stealing happiness from your future self to get high right now. This leads to the second trap, which is perhaps the most dangerous for high achievers. Perfectionism as ego protection. Most people think perfectionism means having high standards. It doesn't. Perfectionism is just insecurity in a fancy suit. This often traces back to the gifted kid syndrome. If you were praised for being smart or talented as a child, you learned a dangerous lesson. You learned that your value comes from being effortless. You learned that if you have to try hard, it means you aren't actually smart. So now, as an adult, when you face a challenge that requires struggle, you panic. You have such a grandiose vision of your project that the reality of starting small feels insulting. You want to build a cathedral, but you only have a brick. So you stare at the brick and do nothing. Deep down, you are afraid that if you try and fail, you will lose the only thing you have, your potential. As long as you don't try, you can still tell yourself, "I could be great if I wanted to." That potential is a safety blanket. But if you try and produce mediocre work, the illusion shatters. So you procrastinate to protect your ego. It is better to be the person who never tried than the person who tried and failed. Psychologist Ira Glass famously calls this the gap. You have impeccable taste. You know what good work looks like. But your current skills are not there yet. This gap between what you want to make and what you can make is painful. It feels like failure. So you stop. But the only way to close the gap is to produce a huge volume of bad work. You have to be willing to be bad to get good. You have to be willing to be cringe. There is also a biological component, the amygdala hijack. When you think about your big goal, your amygdala, the fear center of the brain, perceives it as a threat. Not a physical threat, but a threat to your identity. What if I fail? What if people laugh? What if I succeed and can't handle the pressure? This fear triggers a stress response. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for long-term planning and willpower, gets shut down. You enter a mild freeze state. To escape this anxiety, your brain frantically searches for a dopamine pacifier. It reaches for your phone. It reaches for video games. It reaches for cleaning the kitchen. This is procrastination as emotion regulation. You aren't avoiding work. You are avoiding the bad feeling that the work gives you. Another massive trap is passive action versus massive action. This is where smart people go to hide. Passive action is learning. It is reading books about business, watching tutorials, buying equipment, organizing your notes. It feels like work. It makes you feel productive, but it is a trap. You can spend 10 years learning how to paint without ever putting paint on a canvas. This is safe because you can't fail at learning. Massive action is doing the thing that produces a result. It is painting the picture. It is publishing the post. It is asking for the sale. It is terrifying because you might fail. Ambitious people love passive action because it feeds the intellect without risking the ego. But you cannot learn your way out of doing. And we cannot talk about stagnation without talking about toxic comparison. Every time you open social media, you are bombarded with the highlight reels of other people. You see their finished products, their launches, their bodies. You compare your day 1 to their day 1000. This triggers a sense of hopelessness. You think, I am so far behind, what is the point of even starting? This thought process drains your battery before you even get out of bed. It induces a state of learned helplessness. You freeze because the mountain looks too high. So, how do we break the cycle? How do you move from a dreamer to a doer? Step 1. Kill the fantasy. Stop visualizing the outcome. Seriously, studies show that visualizing the result actually decreases motivation because your brain thinks you already achieved it. Instead, use process visualization. Visualize yourself sitting at the desk, feeling bored, feeling frustrated, wanting to quit, and typing anyway. Visualize the struggle. This prepares your brain for the reality, so you don't crash when it gets hard. Step 2. The stupid small goal. Your ambition is your enemy right now. You want to write a book? Too big. Your goal is to write 1 sentence. You want to get fit? Too big. Your goal is to put on your shoes. Make the goal so stupidly small that your brain can't say no. You need to lower the barrier to entry until you can step over it without lifting your foot. Once you start, momentum takes over. The hardest part of space travel is leaving the atmosphere. Once you are in orbit, it is easy. Just focus on liftoff. Step 3. Embrace B- work. Give yourself permission to be mediocre. Tell yourself, I am going to write a terrible paragraph today. I am going to do a sloppy workout. Liberate yourself from the need to be amazing. A terrible page can be edited. A blank page cannot. You cannot steer a parked car. Get moving, even if you are moving clumsily. Perfectionism is a luxury for people who have already finished the draft. Step 4. Design your environment. The monk mode. Willpower is a myth. You cannot will yourself to work if your phone is next to you. If your phone is in your hand, you have already lost. The algorithm is smarter than you. It is paid billions of dollars to keep you scrolling. Put the phone in another room, turn off the Wi-Fi, create a monastic cell for 1 hour a day. Though boredom is the precursor to creativity, let yourself be bored enough to work. Step 5. Forgive yourself, the fresh start effect. This is crucial. You are stuck in a shame spiral. You waste a day, you hate yourself, you feel bad, so you scroll to numb the bad feeling, and you waste another day. Guilt is not fuel. Guilt is heavy. You cannot run a marathon carrying a backpack of rocks. Forgive yourself for yesterday. It's gone. It's a sunk cost. Treat today as day 1. Talk to yourself like a coach, not a tyrant. A tyrant says, you are lazy garbage. A coach says, okay, we missed yesterday. Let's get a win today. Just 15 minutes. Let's go. I want you to remember this deeply. Potential is not a currency. You cannot buy anything with potential. The world does not reward what you could do. It rewards what you do. A mediocre project that is finished and shipped is infinitely more valuable than a perfect project that only exists in your head. You are not lazy, you are terrified. And that is okay. Be terrified and do it anyway. I challenge you right now, close this video. Do not watch the next one. Pick one tiny task, the one you have been avoiding, and do it for just 5 minutes. Prove to yourself that you can move. I'm curious, what is the dream project you have been planning in your head for years but haven't started? Write it in the comments. By writing it down, you make it real. And if you're wondering why you feel so exhausted even when you haven't done anything, it might be because you have high-functioning anxiety, which is draining your battery in the background. We explain that in this next video. Click here and I'll see you there.